with us at Americans for Prosperity, we have some great folks with us. We have senior fellows up in our DC office who arm us with the ammunition we need to go out and give it to you guys so you can give it to the congressman or give it to the senator. We have one of them with us today. His name is Dr. Larry Hunter, and we're glad to have him. Doctor?
Thank you very much. Well, what a great crowd. Thank you all for coming out. I'm the so-called expert, and I'm here from Washington to inform you. When Ben first started introducing me that way, I said I was supposed to be your friend. But actually, when we started, we've been doing this for several months now. I've been all over the country. It's so great. I live in Virginia. I live in Warrenton, Virginia. I had a group up called, as well as being a senior fellow for AFP, I had a group up called the Social Security Institute. It's a seniors advocacy group. Our hope is to enter the political marketplace and offer people alternative perspective from AARP. I know a lot of you will appreciate that. I've left my card back here. Take a look at it. Go to our website. I think we've got some good stuff up. We're not trying to sell you anything. We're not peddling insurance or anything. A lot of senior sites out there are. We're trying to provide you the best information possible. And I've been going all over the country. Originally, I was going all over the country because senior citizens didn't really think they had a dog in this hunt. They'd been told they had Medicare and they had Medicaid. This debate was really all about the younger folks. Well, the fact of the matter is we knew from the outset that seniors had the biggest stake in this. Because we know one thing for sure. Obama can't pay for this thing by taxing people enough. If he tries, he'll kill the economy. The economy's already on its back. He can't pay for this thing by borrowing money. If he tries, he'll destroy the currency. And the dollar is already under so much pressure, the Chinese are threatening to dump our bonds. So he has one and only one choice to pay for Obamacare. And Ben mentioned it, and you know what it is. It's rationing. And when they ration care, old people will be at the front of the line to go to the back of the line. And that's just the way it is. Now, I had to preach this message early on because a lot of elderly people didn't understand what was at stake. I don't have to preach that message anymore. I used to have to go out and talk about the details of the bill. I never saw signs like this. You guys know the bill as much as I do. You know, I haven't read all 1,018 pages of the House bill, but I've read a good number of them. And they are disturbing. In fact, when I read the infamous page number 425 about life counseling, I didn't understand what they were talking about. Any of you who have read legislative language understand that it can be opaque at the best of times. And I spent a lot of years on Capitol Hill, and I didn't understand what I was reading. So I took it to a friend of mine who is a bereavement counselor and a social service worker. And she looked at it, she read it, and she said, "Larry, I know what this is. I recognize this. This is what I do with my patients." The problem is her patients are terminally ill and have been diagnosed with 6 months or less to live. And yet they're going to impose this, what she called the most difficult thing people will have to do in their lives. They want to impose this on everybody turning age 65, whether you're healthy or ill, whether you're still up riding a bicycle or in a wheelchair. And then they're going to impose it upon you every 5 years thereafter, unless of course you get sick in the interim, and they're going to make you sit down with this counselor periodically to talk about these kinds of things. It's unconscionable. It's an evil system. Let me hasten to say, none of these people that and I know a lot of them, Democrats as well. I don't know the president. I've watched the president up close. These are not evil people. These are people with the best of intentions. I'll have to give them their motivation. But they are people with way too much power, with way too little knowledge, who think that they can manipulate the economy and the healthcare system and it will end in a disaster. Let me talk to you just a little bit about what's going to happen next. Because you're up to date, I'm sure you're up to date on the Blue Dog Democrats. Everybody's heard about the Blue Dog Democrats. You're up to date on what's going on in the House. They put this horrible bill out. Then they had the Blue Dog Democrats throw a fit, and now it looks like Mr. Waxman, Pelosi, the president have got the Blue Dog sort of on a chain. They're not going to vote before the recess. We've got 5 weeks. They're going to go on vacation for 5 weeks. We've got 5 weeks, and we've got to drive a stake through its heart. You have got to do it. You have got to do it. Now, here's the bad news. If it were only the bill we've been talking about, if it were only the Democrats, I would feel pretty good. Because as Ben said, this isn't the partisan issue. I would think that the good sense of Virginians and Iowans and all across this nation would do what we did with Hillary Care. Take it back to Washington. We don't want it. But I'm concerned the world has changed fairly dramatically since 1993 when we drove a stake through the heart of Hillary Care. And right now we're confronting a problem in the U.S. Senate. And I have to tell you, it's not a Democratic problem. It's a Republican problem. Because here's what's going on. These guys are very clever. I've lived with them for 30 years. They put a bill out that will not pass the smell test. Nancy Pelosi may be able to muscle it through the House, but it would die a quick death in the Senate. And everybody knows that. But they're staking out their turf. They're laying down their marker. Now what's happening in the Senate is Mr. Grassley, who's head of that all-important Finance Committee, Mr. Enzi from Wyoming, the 2 senators from Maine, even Lindsey Graham from South Carolina, and Mr. Bob Bennett from Utah. They want to negotiate. Why they want to negotiate is beyond me. Because we know one thing for sure. Nothing this Congress passes, and nothing this president will sign, will be acceptable. At least not right now. And so, why they are negotiating makes no sense, but they are. The Republicans are in negotiating mode, and when Republicans get in the negotiating mode, that puts the people in jeopardy. We've seen it time and time again. I call it Rhino Care. Republican in name only, Rhino Care, and it will turn into a U.S. Chamber of Horrors. And I say that because I was at the U.S. Chamber, and shortly after I left, the U.S. Chamber sold out on Hillary Care. You may not remember that, but that's what's happening in Washington today. Now, why do I go through all of this? Because they're going to come out with a bill, and they're going to try to convince you that it's a bipartisan compromise, and it's acceptable, and that everybody should rally around it. They're going to say the public option is gone. They're going to replace it with co-ops, which is just the public option in a new dress. They're going to say that the employer mandate is gone, that they're not going to impose a mandate on employers, and they're going to replace it with a mandate on you, the individual. And so my message to you is we've got 5 weeks, and we need to pull out the big guns, and we need to tell the Republican Party, stop negotiating. Stop Obamacare. Stop negotiating. There is no reason to negotiate this. There is not a compromise to be had. Now, they're